Hi, welcome to ShaktiShots. ShaktiShots, as you know, is all about a problem that all of us face, whether it's our work life or personal life, and a panelist that has a secret sauce or a super power to solve the problem. Hi, my name is Deepa. I'm the founder and CEO of Journeys from Zinda, a software solution that is all about helping companies and organizations act as one. Our panelist today is Therese Rowley. Now, Therese has a very interesting background. So I am going to let Therese explain the background to us.
Thank you, Deepa. Yes, in my company, Accelerated Alignment, I partner with business leaders in times of significant change because when a company changes, so the leader has to change. So I work with personal change as well as the organizational change and work to align those two together. As a skilled intuitive, I do intuitive readings and healings for people around the world who call me and want to understand how to release their fears and to move into alignment with their creative purpose. I do the same I use the same kind of work as well with business leaders to help them remove the fear so that they can invite in all the gifts of the people in their organization.
Awesome. Like I said, Therese has a very interesting background, and I worked with Therese in both these capabilities. So now, talking about the challenge for today, with COVID and with the situation that we have right now, Therese, I'm not sure about you, but I am working in my basement now because we have 5 people in the house. So my basement is where I work out, where I teach, where I meditate. It is like, it's a little bit chaotic. I feel a little bit chaotic because, before we used to have this, I used to feel kind of compartmentalized in my life. I work here, I, exercise here, I do. Now everything feels so kind of mixed together and a little chaotic. And can you help us with figuring out how to look at this and how to solve for this? What is your secret sauce or superpower to solve for this?
Well, Deepa, I think that you're not alone in terms of this kind of example of what's going on during this transformational era is what I call the COVID time, where everything is all in the same space. And you're also trying to be a parent and also do your exercise and do all of the work together all at the same time. So the two things that are missing, I think, in most of those situations, which is actually the same thing that I often work with when I'm working with leaders in innovation, is the boundaries and the centeredness and grounding. Or there's really 3 things, right? But one is the place and one is within yourself. So we have to get grounded and centered in ourselves to understand the priorities we have. But there's also what we can do with our space, even if it's all together. And I say that it's a lot like innovation because innovation is often I work with and coach leaders in innovation, and they often have to take things from all different organizations and they put them together and they end up with this mish of all kinds of solutions from different parts of the organizations, and they have to deal with the chaos that comes from that.
Yeah.
So way we're all innovating, right, in our own space. So here I'll take the question of place first.
Okay.
Even if it's a small space, well, if you have part of a basement, what's really important is to build the space to accommodate the purpose that you want for that particular aspect of the place. So if you have a corner where you, let's say, have a yoga mat and you have some weights and you have a couple of things like exercise things, you want to put it into a corner where that's all you do. I would recommend, if you don't want to paint the kind of colors that you'd like to see in a gym, you might put photos or pictures there that motivate you in the way that you want to be motivated when you're in the gym. You might also crank up the music while you're creating this space to give yourself the understanding that I'm putting into the space the energy that I want when I go in there to access it. So what happens when you do that and consistently use the space that way is that that space will help you to move into that purpose faster. And this is
it's very interesting because I actually repurposed our media room as my yoga studio and my workout place. And now I don't think about it as a media room anymore. When I go there, it's like, oh, that is my workout place. Right. I see what you're saying here.
Yes, and we find this even in archaeological digs that have said that they were going to put a church in a particular place, and they did a dig underneath that spot, and they would have found that there was temples there tens of
Right.
thousands of years ago, because there's an energy that comes up from the place itself that we create, right, by doing it over and over the same thing. And so
Yeah.
even if you have the same desk that you have to have for your kids at one point and for you to work at another point, make sure that you put things for yourself in exactly a particular position. That means I'm going to work now with a certain music, or even replace a picture that you have there. And then when it's time for the kids to use that kitchen table or that desk, then rearrange it so that it accommodates the kinds of colors and sounds that would go with their best creativity. So that really comes to the place, speaks to place, right?
Okay.
So letting the place give us the energy.
Yeah.
And the second part is really about how do we ground ourselves and how do we center ourselves when the boundaries become less clear, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think, and this is why I would love to offer this and also challenge people to do this and to find where it is in themselves that this anchors the best. But I always recommend the first thing that people do is recognize that they're supported. Because when you're in chaos and you're also the person everyone's looking at to say, now what do we do next? Oftentimes it feels like, I don't know where my ground is. So it's really helpful when you can simply close your eyes for a moment. You can do this now or you can do it later. And even when someone challenges you and you're not quite ready for the challenge, you can say, give me a moment and just go into the restroom and do this. And you can just close your eyes and imagine the base of your spine getting heavier. Just like there's ball bearings on the base of your spine. And it gets so heavy that you can imagine that there's a sort of cord that drops down and keeps going through your chair and through the ground and all the way to the center of the planet. It gets heavier and heavier. Now, what you want to do in this place is feel, what is that? Can I feel that cord going all the way down? Or do I have to suggest to myself that that might be a good idea and wait until that part connects with the center of the planet? And see if you can allow yourself to feel that connection that you always have with the earth and your body and that connection, and to honor it by noticing it. And when you get to the center of the planet, you can even imagine the heart of Mother Earth just anchoring into that. So you're anchoring into that relationship with the support underneath you, right? And you can imagine too that maybe your grounding cord is filled with light. It's like a lightsaber, or maybe it's a rope and it's really strong, or maybe it's a tree trunk and it's really wide. So you can just drop that cord down and see what is it for you today. And then you can play with it and make it any other kind of texture, color, or substance that you prefer, so that you're honoring that way of grounding in that moment on that day, because it may be different tomorrow and it may have been different yesterday, but we want to honor the relationship we have at this moment. And then in order to further ground yourself, you can actually allow energy from the center of the planet, from the heart of Mother Earth, to come all the way up, back up into the soles of your feet. And to imagine it coming through your feet, your legs, your thighs, and then dropping back down the grounding cord to the center of the planet. And you just run that energy just like that a few times, and you might even feel tingling in your feet and your legs. And that really is energy. And that really is a connection that you have. And then when you take a couple more deep breaths, you can come into the room and find out that you might feel differently about where you stand in your ground. You might feel a little different in your authority to be able to identify boundaries and identify priorities. But it takes that sense of you feeling supported and grounded first in order for you to be a resource for others to do the same. So that's an exercise that you can try. And yeah, how did that go for you, Deepa?
I am feeling strangely calmer. My movements reduce just like that. I was doing a little this with my fingers, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling quiet.
Very good. That's it. And the more quiet that you get, the more that you can hear your inner guidance. And when you want to feel really centered after you ground, if you wanted to, you could also close your eyes and just breathe into your heart. And one way I recommend, because oftentimes when we're chaotic, we lean into the future and think it's going to be safe as soon as we get to ... the other side of COVID, when I get back to work, when my kids get here, so we're thinking about the future, we're actually leaning our energy in. What that means is that we don't have as much energy as we could have to apply ourselves to present time, to really create in the present moment. So one of the things I suggest is that people imagine just breathing in the energy through their heart and breathing out the back of their heart. 2 feet out the back of your heart is also your energy. And when you can imagine bringing the energy in, sometimes through the crown of your head, sometimes straight into your heart, and then breathing out the back of your heart, 2 feet, it means you're claiming the space behind you as well as in front of you, and you begin to get more centered in your own energy. So now you're grounded and you're centered. And now you can go about looking at priorities and boundaries, healthy boundaries for others as well.
You know, what is funny is because I was leaning forward, and then after you started talking, I'm like, you know, I'm sitting straight now.
You're sitting straight, yeah.
Yeah.
Owning that power and space that you really have. It's just like, I always think of it as having a Word document and thinking that you don't have an editor function, so you keep using the space key for everything. Right. and when you find out you have this whole energy around you and you're grounded and you're centered, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, you're still there, that now you have the editor function and it's a lot more effective and efficient.
This is awesome, because, you know, we're not talking about half an hour. We're talking about 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
2
right?
minutes. Yes,
that is all it takes.
Yes, and I've talked with people who have said, you mean that I don't have to go into a room and darken the lights and just breathe by myself for half an hour and do that every day and then maybe I'll get there? And I say, no, you can do this. It takes, you can take 30 seconds and do it. You can take one full minute and it's done. So I recommend doing it whenever you feel chaotic, you know?
Right, so this whole, you know, being present and presence of mind and all of that, it is literally closing your eyes for a second and imagining that, and that, just that by itself is going to make a change just like that.
It does. Right? It does. Yeah.
So is this what you coach leaders do? I mean,
yes.
Is it easier when we do it in front of you? What happens when you're not there?
Oh, it doesn't matter if I'm there or not. The exercises stand alone. In fact, what I usually do, sometimes I'm coaching CEOs of companies and I look at their very particular way of success. Maybe they are successful because they want people to like them, and when people like them, they get great deals. But there's sometimes they want something and people won't like them. So they have to learn a different way to really have a grounding and a different way to relate so that they can feel respected and still get that win and not do it by the way they're most comfortable with. So we do different energetic exercises, and these, many have said that this is responsible for millions of dollars of business for them, just because they've learned how to relate to themselves differently and
sure.
then relate to others as a result of that. And therefore their businesses expand. So
sure.
Human homework, I call it human homework. And I give it to them every week so that they can practice strengthening that muscle. Because the more convinced you are that you deserve a relationship with the planet and its support, which some people don't believe they have, that, so we have to work on the belief systems. But for those that do, and the more they practice it, just like making that space in your room, the more you put energy into that that's the same, the more that it will help you get to that place faster.
Very cool, Therese. This is awesome. So that is your challenge to everybody as well. Practice this, even if it is for 2 minutes today, and see how much of a difference it makes, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Therese. This was amazing. Thank you for sharing your secret sauce with us. And I believe there is a superpower too, which we'll talk about another time.
Yes.
So this was it, guys, the Shakti Shots for today. Therese Rowley, thank you so much, Therese. Make sure that you go home and practice that. Actually, stay home and practice that, because we are not going anywhere, right?
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.